That's the Meeple Syrup Show. Hey, welcome. It's Sen, and I'm here all alone, but I'm not actually alone. I have two of the loveliest people that I know in the board game industry. Please welcome Debbie and Rob to the show, also known as Wise Wizard Games. That's right. So, Debbie and Rob, welcome. How are you?
Good.
We're great.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear the thunder in the background.
Yeah,
we got a nice New England storm going.
Oh yeah. Is there a name for those?
Well, it depends. Some of them are called like nor'easters, but I don't know.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if it was a nor'easter, but I thought that was like a really specific type of storm.
It is. Yeah, I don't think this one is that, but.
And so before we got on air, I was talking. Deb said that the family's all vaccinated and everything's good, and life is getting kind of back to normal.
Yeah, it's
not totally, but on its way.
But basically, So all the kids, except for Daisy, have at least gotten their first shot. Deb and I and our two seniors are fully vaccinated, and so it's very nice. Like
we went to a restaurant.
Went to a restaurant. Yeah,
what is that like? Yeah. Here in Canada, I don't know if they exist anymore.
We had our 6-year-old with us, but it's still really, really nice to
nice.
Have someone come and bring us.
Yeah, and I've been like being bad cop for like a year and a half. Like even before the government put on restrictions, I was sort of looking at what was happening in China, looking and seeing that there were cases on cruise ships, and I'm like, yeah, this thing's out now. So basically, I was like, no, you can't go bowling. No, you can't go to a magic tournament. No, you can't go to the escape room. Like basically, I was like, no. I was like Mr. No for this. And then of course everything locked down, and I was very strict with trying to keep everybody safe, because we got a very big family. We had 9 people in the house. Deb and I and 7 kids through most of COVID. So trying to keep that group safe.
Our oldest moved out. It's a lot to live with somebody.
Yes.
But now with the some of us fully vaccinated and most of us having at least one shot, it's really nice to be able to loosen up the restrictions a little bit.
Yes.
And get to live a little again.
We'll be hosting game nights pretty soon.
Very soon.
Yeah. By the way, Deb and Rob host wonderful game nights. So is Wise Wizard going to be at conventions coming up live?
Yeah, we're looking at starting with Spiel and PAX Unplugged.
Okay.
Where we're targeting. We're skipping Origins and Gen Con in that. Well, we may
still do some events.
Yeah, we may still do some events there, but we're not going to do the giant boosts because those are very expensive and they're a lot of work. Coordinating and moving, basically moving heaven and earth to get a huge presence at those shows. And with them moved from their primary dates and at partial capacity and such, it's hard to know whether or not it would be financially reasonable for the company to do it. So, maybe we'll miss out on a great show, but we're just gonna, wait until the later in the fall shows, and then next year we're hoping that everything's back at full capacity.
Yeah,
ready to go. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to 2022.
Yes.
Yeah, 2022, I'll do things. 2021, still a little iffy. As you know, up in Canada, we are not expected to be fully vaccinated until like midsummer for not even all of us, right? So it's going to take a while to get through that. Hello, Adam Young. Hello, Josh Dirksen. How's everybody out there in Meeple Syrup Land? We have a lot of viewers live. So if you have any questions for Deborah Rob, please do put them in the chat. We can read them out and have them up here coming online. Hello, Game Freak 701. And yes, you are right. We do need to see Wise Wizard Games in Canada someday. That would be awesome to have Rob and Deb come up to, I don't know, maybe like Breakout Con in Toronto or something. So
Game Freak beats me down on a regular basis in Star Realm, so it's good. It's good.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. There we go. So, as always on the Maple Syrup Show, we like to talk about how people got started in the industry. So we have dun 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 the origin stories of Deb and Rob. Why don't you go tell us, how did you get into gaming, like gaming in general? Like, when did it start for you?
Yeah, so Rob's origins. You might
boy.
have to
So gaming in general, I basically in the when I was a little kid, I was into the standard like Monopoly, Risk, and then sort of graduating into like Axis and Allies and Dungeons and Dragons, and I started tinkering with games as a kid. Like I'd basically make my own versions of games, and frequently my friend group would abandon the sort of official versions of games and move on
For
to
yours.
the Rob Weird versions of them. But then in the 80s, I got into miniature gaming, playing games like Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and lots of different role-playing systems like Dungeons and Dragons, and was big into the hero system. Champions superhero role-playing game was one we liked a lot, but played a bunch of different stuff in the Champion system. A little bit of GURPS, Aftermath, and all kinds of various role-playing systems. It was more about the game, more about the group, the dungeon master and the players, than the system for me with the role-playing stuff. And continued in board games. Continued it as a hobby through high school. When I was in the Army, I played games there. Got out, was playing games in college on the side. And when I was in college, Magic the Gathering came out, and I was an avid collector of comic book cards and that sort of thing. So like a game that had really good gameplay and collectability was basically scratched both itches, and I got really into that. And then I was a poor college student on the GI Bill, so I started selling cards online to pay to buy more cards. And
I was just gonna say, for more cards.
Yeah, and that that turned into a big thing. And then I dropped out of school and opened a game store, and made games on the side for fun while I was doing the game store thing. And at some point, I moved into actually producing, jumped into producing games. I made games. My first company was making games with Your Move Games Incorporated with Chad Ellis. And then from there, I did Epic as a trading card game, and as a company. And then I did the Ascension. I teamed up with Justin Gary, and we produced the deck building game Ascension. That was my first really big hit game. And then my friend Darwin was trying to get work in the game industry, and I was like, "Oh, you should make a game and go around and pitch it to people, and that'll and basically just show what you can do." And so he liked Ascension and other deck builders, so he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try building a deck builder." And he went around and showed it to people, and no luck getting bites on it. So I was like, "Okay, well, let's work on it together. We'll do some development, tweak it, and see where we can get it." And basically, we did this for a while, back and forth, working on it, tweaking it. And at some point, I was like, this is really good. Like, maybe we should just make this ourselves. And I actually looked at the possibility of bringing it in with Gary Games, who was doing Ascension, but my partners there weren't interested in expanding into additional games. So I was like, okay, we'll just do it. So we did. We formed White Wizard Games at the time was the name. So we formed White Wizard Games with Darwin and I, and Tanthor Jen, who was programmer, and who had been interested in doing stuff with us. And we also had a graphic designer, Vito, who did some graphic design work for us. So we formed a company to launch Star Realms, and I thought it was going to be a side gig.
That became the full-time job.
Yeah, and we were literally working out of my garage. I had like a little office above on the second floor of the garage, and that's where the company was based for quite a while. And
like 8 or 9 people in there.
And basically I used the garage itself, like moved the cars out and used the garage as our warehouse, like initially.
Is this the same house that I've been to?
No. It's
one before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so we get pallets delivered to Rob's garage.
Yeah. So yeah, that's obviously Star Realms just took off like crazy. And from there we just kept rolling, making games that we wanted to make. Stuff that was fun for us.
I do have a bit of a bone of contention to pick with you about Star Realms. It came out the same year that Akrotiri came out, and so you beat us for best 2-player games in like so many things. It was always like Star Realms, and then way down below that Akrotiri. But no, and I can't even lie about that though, because I think I personally championed Star Realms to like every other person that I knew forever. So I love the game. And I still play it religiously. So.
And one of the things that helped with Star Realms, advantage I had, which I didn't have with previous games, is I was dating somebody who was a bit of a marketing expert, and
just a bit.
Out, letting people know your game is awesome is almost as important as your game being awesome.
The game is awesome.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Debbie was working in high tech as VP of marketing, and she gave us all kinds of sort of free assistance on the side, and until eventually I was able to tempt her away from her large paychecks in the corporate world.
I was like, you guys have way too much fun. I'd be like, back-to-back meetings, corporate, and then they'd be like watching Marvel movies while they were playing games because they could,
Right.
That was
there are some perks to working in the game industry. It's like my kids are so funny. It's like, oh yeah, I have to watch this cartoon. Like, why? Oh yeah, for research. Dad has to research cartoons.
Yes,
that's my job. To research the cartoons.
We've definitely done some of that.
We have done that too.
Yeah. So, Deb, what about you? How did you get started in board gaming, card gaming, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, in terms of like my history of gaming, I was a more casual gamer. Like Rob, as you can tell, was a very serious gamer from like probably when you were a toddler. So,
yeah.
So I also played Risk and Stratego and some various games when I was growing up. I played a lot of card games when I was growing up, just with like a deck of cards, because we didn't have a lot of games. So we just had a deck of cards. And so we played a lot of games, just like fun party games. Like there was one we used to play, I think it's called Bullshit, where, but am I allowed to say that online?
You can say whatever you want.
Sorry. And that, but right before I met Rob, a couple of years before I met Rob, my teenage son started getting into, I'd always played games with my kids, but they were more like family games. We played Flux, more on the casual side. But my son got a very strong interest in Magic the Gathering. So
as sons will do.
I would take him to the game store for Friday Night Magic because he couldn't drive. He wasn't old enough. And I was trying to learn how to play Magic. I found like, isn't there anywhere that actually teaches you how to play this game? There was a lot going on. And around that time I met Rob, and on his online dating profile, he said he was into Euro games. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but that sounds like very nerdy, my kind of person. So
there you go.
I reached out to him, and
I didn't mention the whole Magic Hall of Fame thing. I figured that was second
he
date
did not mention
material.
Magic the Gathering. So when we went on a date, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like now you can take my kids.
Little did I know it would have been a selling point.
So he started, they went to Magic together, and I was like, oh, did people know who Rob was? And my son was like, yeah, they did.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I took CJ to a Friday Night Magic, and when we got back, Deb jokingly was like, oh, did anybody ask Rob for his autograph? He was like, yeah,
they actually had like the card with your picture on it or something.
Oh, hilarious. That is too funny.
Yeah, so but how I got roped into like actually like getting involved on the business side was Rob was going to Origins, and my best friend Cheyenne lives in Columbus, Ohio. So we decided like, okay, well, we'll go and like you'll do your job stuff and I'll like shop and hang out with my friends.
Yeah, I think this was for Ascension too, right?
It was Ascension. This was before he worked at before they started Star Realms, or around the time they were like looking at Star Realms. And he said to me when like we were like on the plane, I think going there, like, I'm kind of short staffed. Like, is there any possibility you could help out? And I was like, well, I haven't played
an hour or two.
I was like, I haven't played your games. I don't know how to play it. And he's like, oh, we'll be able to teach you, no problem. I demoed the entire convention.
Yeah, you did.
And I saw my friend that night, and we had.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it, Dad?
I really did enjoy it. It was awesome, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like. I was able to learn it pretty easily, and I got that buzz of like, you know, you're showing a game, people are really liking it, and it's super fun. And you know, demoing, we still both really like to demo at conventions. Like, we're not generally demoing, but we'll slot ourselves in there here and there, and we really like it. So so that's where I kind of started to get to know the types of games that Rob was working on. And, you know, I also would like play some casual Magic as well. But the company, I started to get more involved in the company as it got more successful, because I wanted to help grow it, because I was like, this is like a super fun thing and people love your games and I might be interested in working with you, but we weren't sure, like, you know, could we grow the company and be at that point? I was an executive in high tech, so I also had to pay my bills and stuff. But you know, the company did grow and it was successful. And at first I worked for the company part-time as a consultant, and I had other consulting clients that were high tech. And I really liked it. And Rob and Darwin really liked working with me. And so then we eventually made it full-time. I did take a minor pay cut.
Massive pay cut.
That's going to happen.
50%. But I think a lot of people do that I've spoken with that have moved into the board game industry, and I do not regret it at all. Like, I gave up a lot of things like stock options, like certainly like a lot of what I would call wealth building kind of benefits from when you're at a high tech company. But I wake up every day and I want to go to work. And that was not the case when I was in high tech. Like I was very burnt out. There was just a lot of, it wasn't as cooperative and collaborative as the board game industry. Also, it was very competitive of everyone wanted to be better than everyone else. So just the whole culture and just that you're having fun, you're doing stuff that makes people happy. You know, people really enjoy our games, and I just really, really like love working on it. So I don't regret, you know, the change. And like, we were a little worried that working together, you know, would tank our relationship. We weren't like married at the time, and it didn't. Like,
it only made it stronger.
No, seriously,
and especially like now during COVID, like we work together even more, because there'll be things that maybe he would have like run by Darren, but Darren's not here, so we work together even more. But yeah, we never, surprisingly, like never get sick of each other. I don't know. Awesome. We just get along really, really well. So, and we have very complementary skills. So
yeah, I think like if you're, you know, there's a chance if you're going to be doing something like 24/7, basically all the time together. Yeah, obviously there's a chance that could just blow things up because you'd like drive each other crazy. But yeah, it just works with us. So yeah. Cool.
Excellent. Just before we get on to the next question, just wanted to say hi to Glitterfart. Glitterfart.
Hey, Glitterfart. We also
kicks my butt in Star Realms. So.
There you go. Amy Bio, Charles Huang, Helena Capel. I hope you noticed the shirt I'm wearing, Helena. And Josh Dirksen. And for all of those, for those of you who are out there who aren't Magic the Gathering players, I hope you know that Rob just name dropped like 2 or 3 like Hall of Famers. Just in like casual conversation. Oh yeah, these Hall of Fame people that I work with. It's awesome. So tell me a little bit about Wise Wizard now. What's the philosophy behind your brand? Is it just fun games, or is there something deeper there?
So I think sort of so there's we make stuff that we want to play. We're doing this because we love it, not because, you know, we want to be rich, you know, like basically, you know, Debbie staying in high tech would have been a much better path for that scenario. But so we're doing stuff that we love. But I think the thing that sort of ties our games together is massive replayability, and brands that are sustained. So basically, if you look at any one of our games like Star Realms or Epic Card Game or Sorcerer or Hero Realms, they have, like, each one of them is the kind of game that if you wanted that game to be your primary hobby, no problem. It is plenty deep enough. You can, like, people, literally play Star Realms thousands and thousands of times. Like, if you look on people's app stats, it's just like, absurd quantities. And basically,
we won't name any names.
like, generally speaking, if I buy a game and I play it like 10 times, I am really happy with that purchase.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, basically, tons of games I buy, maybe I play them once or twice, and yeah, it was kind of fun, and I like it, and I'm not upset that I bought it. But that's all the play it gets.
Yeah.
Our light went out. That's yeah.
Is it like a sensor?
Basically, with the stuff that we make, we try and make it so that you can play again and again and again over time, and it never, basically, the game is never old. You never, you never have to put it down. So that's one of the things that we really strive for, and just continuing to support the game, because they have that level of depth, we can continue to support them over time. We also try and have really good value propositions, like Star Realms had, like when it was first made, a absolutely shocking value proposition. Like, basically, we basically brought art in deck builders to a higher level than it had been previously, and we felt we were bringing the gameplay to a higher level. Obviously, that's both those things are subjective, but we basically we're improving gameplay, improving artwork, and then took things that were normally sold for $40 and was like, let's sell it for 15.
Yeah, exactly.
With a big box and just sell
Canada, it was 20, right? So, sure. but exactly it. That's exactly how I sold it to people. I said, this is the best $20 that you're ever going to spend if you like games, because you will just play this and play this and play this and play this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I actually equate it to Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter. As the video game, because I can just, anytime I want to play a game, it's like, I don't have an hour to invest, but I got like 25 minutes to play a game. Oh, Street Fighter, I can fight a couple people. And Star Realms to me feels that way, where I'm getting this really nice play loop over and over again that I enjoy, that I have some strategy around, a little luck. And I really just enjoy playing Star Realms for what it is. And I like what you're saying about a brand that kind of keeps on propagating its own flagships and propping them up with new content, more support. And like, I don't ever see it going away. And a lot of companies that, or maybe bigger companies, say like Fantasy Flight. And if Fantasy Flight has a product that you really like, sometimes they end that line and it's like, oh my gosh, what that game that I like isn't a game anymore.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, another viable strategy some companies do is they just, if a game's kind of good, all right, let's put it out. And they'll put out like, 50 games a year, 60 games a year, like just, like game after game after game. And those games, they're probably not coming back to. Each one's just, all right, single shot, fire, see how it's, how do we do? A few thousand units. Awesome. Next one. And they'll frequently companies that use that model will frequently be heavily recycling artwork, like, all right, whatever, we have these art assets. We'll just, piece them into whatever game. And, like, basically they have to do some cost cutting to make that, to make that model work, but that's a viable thing.
Yeah, for sure.
We are more looking for, and honestly, at some point we may make some small little side games that we like. Hey, this game deserves to exist. You can't really make it your life hobby, but we like it, and so I'm not saying we wouldn't do games like that. It's just the things that have really inspired us, and are these balls that we can just run with a lot.
You have some pillars that hold up the whole thing. So in terms of the company, why the name change? How did it go from White Wizard to Wise Wizard, and why?
So White Wizard Games. So basically, early on when we were trying to, we were like, okay, we're forming this company, and we were like trying to figure out names that would be good. Did you?
I was just going to say, and you weren't really thinking this was going to be a giant company.
Yeah, but basically, well, I'm a fan of the Tolkien stuff, and as a reference to the sort of wizarding levels in the Tolkien book, so like Saruman and Gandalf came up with White Wizard. That could be a cool name, and it had the WW thing. And so, we Googled White Wizard, and nothing bad came up, or at least, nothing that wasn't super ridiculously obscure. So we were like, okay, this name is cool.
Domain was available.
Domain was available.
Domain, and
that's a plus.
I checked like the copyright database and the domain.
And being in New England, and coming up with that name, it was cool, and everybody liked the name, and we were and everything was great. And then we grew as a company over time, and we started getting employees and people working with us remotely from all over, like all over the world and all over the U.S. And we had an employee in California, but we started getting employees in like Atlanta and in Florida and in the southeastern United States. And we started occasionally getting comments where it'd be like, I was wearing my company shirt and somebody asked if it was like a Klan reference, and we were like, oh boy, that hadn't really crossed our radar at all, and obviously didn't come up in Google searches because it's not
what it's called.
It's not what it's called, but there's like some various associations that people get confused with, and one person thinking that is too much.
Yeah, right.
So basically we did some and occasionally that question would come up, and we'd obviously explain the actual origins of whatever, but basically it was just not something that you want any kind of accidental association to. So we looked at possible other names, and Wise Wizard was one of the ones that we brainstormed, and it was available, and we really loved that it was a very minor name change. We keep the WWG, and it's so it still it still really worked. So basically that was the origin of the name change.
Choice. But, we got a lot of feedback like that.
Basically, it took
a long time.
Took a long time. Like, because basically we were like, we decided, okay, this is something we want to do, but then we had to get apply for like the trademarks and the name and stuff, because you can't make that name change and then then get into legal battles or whatever later. I mean, it'd be a nightmare. So basically, so we were doing all the all the legal stuff and the searches, and and so lawyers were working on it for a long time. And then once we finally got it, then it's okay. Now we got to coordinate. Okay, when are we going to do this as sort of a make the switch over from a communication perspective to the world. But it went very smoothly, and being able to keep like our product codes exactly the same. So for many people, they might not know the name changed, and it doesn't matter. And basically there's products on the shelves that that have the White Wizard Games name, and then there's products now that are coming which have the Wise Wizard Games name. And if you look at them from a distance, you probably wouldn't even notice that the name is different. You have to get close enough to read it to see. So that was so it was quite a process to it, but I think I'm definitely glad we did it. And there were some people who were like, who after we changed our name were like, yeah, your old name bothered me, but I didn't want to say anything. So yeah, that's the story.
And a lot of people were like, why'd you change your name? So most people did not understand the reference. Even when a couple people had made comments on like a Facebook post, people still didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just where you are in different regions, people have those associations. But yeah, I mean, I had done company rebrandings a couple times before when I was a consultant, and well, once as a consultant, once as an employee at a software company. And it takes it's pretty quick that people start realizing your new name, but the process to actually make it happen, like we had a whole plan of here's all the things we need to change before we can go live. We need to switch over our websites. We need to do this. We need to do that. And what do we have to have done to go live with it? And then we still are like, hey, Debbie, you know, I saw White Wizard Games on this convention site. So, you know, we'll still get that. And I told the team, like, just expect that when someone tells you they found it somewhere out there on a graphic, we can, you know, of course we looked on the internet and stuff, but we'll make those changes as they come to light. And, you know, eventually everything will be Wise Wizard Games. And eventually people that have known us all this time will remember that we were White Wizard Games, but we'll get a lot of new customers that, you know, always knew us as Wise Wizard Games. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you keep making
that's fine.
good games, right?
Yeah, keep making good games. There you go, which is the goal anyways, right? And the hope. So actually, let's talk about how do you keep a game as, you know, as revered as Star Realms, and a game that has as many expansions as Star Realms? How do you keep it fresh? Because Star Realms High Alert is something that is on the docket, correct?
Sure. Yeah. So Star Realms High Alert is it's Kickstarter backers have it now, or at least most of them do. We're like working through. Well, worldwide fulfillment right now is an absolute nightmare with the shipping issues and COVID and, you know, various shutdowns and but it's you know, it's in many backers' hands, and hopefully soon to be in every backer's hands.
Right.
And then in a couple months we'll have the main shipment will come for retail. And that's got so with Star Realms we basically package it in two different ways. We've got the box sets. So like the original box set is is like a size of a deck of cards, but a little bit fatter. And then or the bigger decks like the Frontiers came in. But we also do expansions in like little booster packs. It looks like a pack of Magic cards or something. And High Alert is one of the ones that comes in the little packs. And the nice thing with that is basically we're able to take cards with an individual mechanic. So for example, with one of the things we have with High Alert is a new type of card called Tech. And there is a pack which contains nothing but Tech cards. And if you like Tech and you think it sounds cool, you can buy the Tech pack and you can shuffle it in with your set. And if you're like, ooh, I don't like that mechanic, it wouldn't take the game a place I want to go, you can not buy that one, and you can buy the other pack. So it makes it very, very customizable for people. We also put little icons on every set so that if you want to pull cards from the set, you can do that by looking through the cards at the little icons on the bottom and pulling out the ones that have a matching icon. But like the Tech set has a new mechanic where basically when you buy a Tech card, it comes directly into play in front of you, and it stays there all game, and it gives you an ability that you can activate by spending trade. So, so you might have like a heavy laser, which you can spend a few trade and get multiple points of damage out of it as something you can activate
all the time.
So one way to keep a game fresh is by bringing in new mechanics like that. And we have this nice compartmentalized way to do that. So we can play around with mechanics that some people would not enjoy. So for example, we have some of our sets have an event mechanic where when a card comes up on the market, it does something big and crazy, and it affects everybody. Like there's a card Supernova, which blows up the entire market and does 5 damage to every player. And some players really love playing events. Oh, wow, crazy things are happening. This is so cool. Other players are like, oh, this is messing with my perfect strategy. I don't like this. So basically with these nice compartmentalized sets, we can go places where we're like, oh man, this might not this might upset some of our existing customers. That's fine. They don't have to play
I'll
that.
play with it.
They can, and so we have lots of sort of things with strong mechanics like that, like the mission set where you get sort of things you're trying to achieve during the game, and it's an alternate win condition. If you complete all three missions, you win immediately. Or the heroes that you can save to activate ally abilities, or basically all kinds of different things that match different players' play styles. Some players just love play them all, just shuffle them all together and go. Other people can customize their set the way they want. So one way is those new mechanics. Another way is something that I learned from Magic the Gathering, which is start again at the beginning. So if you look at the Star Realms base set, you look at Colony Wars, and you look at Frontiers, any of those could be a player's first Star Realm set.
Right.
They're simple enough. They don't, while they might have a mechanic or two above the base set, they're still very simple, easy to grasp, straightforward, pure Star Realms play, but with different ships and different bases. The factions still have the same general mechanics, etc. So that allows players who love the game and have played it for a long time to sort of start again at the beginning fresh, to have that sort of pure Star Realms gameplay feel, but all the cards are new. I'm reading new cards and also you can mix this stuff together, and it interacts in interesting ways as you get more and more stuff in. So that sort of reinvention and start at the beginning, again, but make it all compatible. So it's like, for an existing player, you can just get it all.
Have everything together.
It's great. So that's a thing that we're doing. And also, we're with the next Star Realms project we have coming up. It'll be coming to Kickstarter this fall. Star Realms Rise of Empire. We're really pushing the boundaries, where that is a legacy Star Realms.
Wow. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So basically, one player plays the Star Empire, one player plays the Trade Federation. It's a prequel to the original Star Realms box set. So this takes place before the Blob invasion. It tells the story of the Star Empire rebelling from the Trade Federation, declaring independence, and the Civil War that ensued. And it includes all new factions. All new old factions. Basically, we can do it in that these were civilizations that were wiped out by the Blob when the Blob they existed at the time of this set, but they don't still exist in the game. So we've got these multiple factions that are neighbors of the Star Empire. Players are fighting over them to try and get them to join their side, and it's a multi-game series, and you're changing cards as you play. Just ridiculously fun legacy experience. And when you're done, you have a fully playable Star Realm set that you can play on its own or mix with other Star Realm stuff.
What?
That
is ridiculous.
Yes, it's just that I could. I tried to do the shortened version because Debbie knows I can go for like an hour on
this one.
But it is awesome. But yeah, it's so cool.
Josh is excited, and as you can probably tell, so am I. Just to get some other people's comments here, Adam Young is looking forward to the Sorcerer expansion content as well. That game is underrated in his opinion. Mine as well. I think it's a great game.
Sorcerer is awesome and beautiful, and so much love went into that game. It's sort of a mixed bag. Like basically, it's tough when Star Realms is in your portfolio for the other games, because like Sorcerer did like a $390,000 original Kickstarter, and then came back and did like a $430,000 or something like that Kickstarter. So that is really great by like almost any standard, but compared to Star Realms, it doesn't sell very much. So it's like basically, but there are tons and tons of Sorcerer fans, and that game is so deep and so beautiful, and the interactions you get with it are so cool, because you take basically every game, you take a character deck, a lineage deck, and a domain deck, and smash them together to create your unique sorcerer for that game. And You get trading card game style card interaction. So it feels like you're playing a constructed TCG deck where you're working to get these mechanics that work together, but it's so easy because you just shuffle the cards together to get it. And it's got dice and beautiful boards and insanely gorgeous artwork. Fantasy horror theme, just beautiful. But anyway, yes, we have awesome sorcerer stuff coming up, and we're doing a new thing. Basically, as I'm sure is the case with every company, COVID definitely threw us for a loop a bit. And one of the areas where it most threw us for the loop is with playtesting. So our ability to get big groups of people together and hammer stuff out, that went away. And we tend to create a lot of content during the Kickstarter campaign. So basically there's stretch goals and we take feedback from our players and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that didn't exist before the campaign started, and we've committed to making it by the time the campaign's over. And so we've got to, make sure, like, we'll create it, like, during the campaign, or maybe we have a bunch of ideas, like, okay, here's our idea shelf, but it's not like, we don't know, are these for several years down the road, or, oh my gosh, Kickstarter is doing really well, we got to brush these off and make some stretch goals here.
Right.
So there's significant work to be done post campaign. Also, I have a bad habit of like wanting things to be perfect, and I'll go back and change stuff late in the game. Like,
I see Debbie just nodding.
Yes.
Yeah, we can go to print with this.
Hero Realms Kickstarter yet.
Yeah, we could go to print with this, but oh wait, I want to do this other thing, and it can be particularly bad with Sorcerer because Peter is the same way but worse. So he'll come up with, oh my God, Rob, I got this cool idea. I want to do this thing, but we'll have to redo all these sections, and we'll talk about it. And I'll be like, oh, that sounds really good. Yeah, we're doing that. And it just,
I'm like, no. Scope creep.
Scope creep is the worst.
So basically, we tend to add stuff, and there's scope creep, so I'm far more concerned with the final product than the timeline, and that can be bad in a lot of ways. But so at any rate, we
get extra stuff.
So with our Kickstarters that we're doing now, we're doing this new thing where basically we're taking the content and we're putting it up on Tabletop Simulator, and we're giving backers access to it, and basically like, okay, guys, kick the tires. Like, we're testing it, but there's only a few of us that can get together at once. So, it needs to be better tested. So basically, so the bad news is, like, so the Sorcerer stuff, we're supposed to be delivering it next month, and it's definitely going to be, it hasn't even gone to the printer, to print yet. So basically it's going to be significantly late. However, there's parts of the content that people have had for months online.
Because they've seen it online, Yeah,
because we basically have it up on Tabletop Simulator. Okay, here it is, on Tabletop Simulator, and, and basically, and they're kicking the tires. So basically we've pulled our community in to play early, and if they play 5 or more games, they get listed as a play tester. It's sort of a weird way to do it, and it's slower, but
but it also might be better in the long run.
No, I think it's really, like, obviously we have to add a time buffer for it because it takes longer.
For sure.
But if you ignore that part of it, yes, I think it is better because it's we're getting more live feedback, and the players who are actually paying for it, the customers of it, are getting to give that feedback before it's final. So.
And you're creating community, which is a really important thing in this kind of weird world that we're currently living in. So I just have a question before we get past Star Realms. Adam Young said the Unity expansion for Star Realms were my favorite. Having new synergies between factions was interesting. And I wanted to ask you, Debbie, is there a ship that if Rob buys it, like, you're super mad for a base?
Stealth Needle.
Yeah.
Oh, the Stealth Needle.
And a lot of times I shouldn't even get the stealth.
You should not early.
I know. Not like I'm like, I have to get it. And then I'll get it. And it's like, I have it with like.
You get it like in a hand with like all other like.
So command, I mean, Brain World command ship, the large cost cards. I hate it.
And she'll also swear a little bit if a cutter comes up on my turn and I can afford it.
The cutter is my ship. The cutter's my.
I mean,
cutter's my everything. Don't take the cutter.
When you're like going second, and the other person gets,
gets that cutter. What about you, Rob? Is there a card that if Debbie bought in Star Realms, you would be real upset?
No, I like to sort of maybe cutter.
He likes
maybe
to not
cutter.
win every single time because,
Yeah, so the cutter is definitely a family favorite here as well. So let's move on to Epic Duels, which is weird because again you're going back to the beginning. This seems to be a thing with you, Rob.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
All right. So the story of Epic. Epic was kind of this sort of long project for me where Epic first was done. It was many years ago. This was before Ascension, and it was done as a trading card game. And basically, I was trying to take the cost element and the playability elements problems out of trading card games. So basically, one of the design philosophies of Epic was every card is going to be powerful and playable. So there's not going to be this, oh, well, we've got common cards, which sure you can play with them, but they're terribly weak. And once you've got enough cards, you're only going to want to play with the rares or super uber ultra rares. Like you'll see in Magic all the time, they'll have like, oh, this card costs 2 white and 3. And, it's a 3/4 with some really weird, lame special ability, and it's a common. Or, you've got a mythic rare version of it. Oh, well, then it's a 5/5 flying first strike protection from XYZ, lifelink.
$1 billion.
But basically that. So there was that issue that I was trying to get rid of, and I was also trying to get rid of the playability of cards issue. So basically, a lot of times people would be very excited about a card, especially new players. So there'd be some cool dragon that they'd be very excited about, but basically they'd be unable to play it because its cost was very high, and they wouldn't have the cards necessary to put it on the table. A game would be over before they could play it, and even in games which had like a simplified casting system, but still had a mana curve where it's like, oh, you can play any card face down as a resource, and then that sort of style. Even then, you'd have, okay, well, this card's expensive and my opponent's on an aggressive strategy, and I just don't get to play this card at all. And so I wanted to get rid of that. And basically, Epic is built like a trading card game, so you can play draft and constructed and sealed, and it goes great in all those formats, but every card is powerful and playable, balanced against each other. And every turn you have a 1 gold resource, and if a card costs a gold, it's going to be super powerful, like the equivalent of like a 8 cost magic card or something. So basically, it's going to do insane things. And then you've got free cards which don't cost your gold and do powerful things, but not at the level of things that cost the gold. So basically, every turn you're going to have a handful of insanely powerful options, and so is your opponent. So you get these really cool games where you're making cool, powerful plays, they're making cool, powerful plays back and forth, and it's much more about the decisions you're making as opposed to what can you do. Like, okay, so we initially had that as a trading card game with Epic Trading Card Game, and then and Epic Trading Card Games.
Original one? That was a long time.
Yeah, it was a while back, and then Epic was doing okay as a trading card game, and then I basically had to decide whether I was going to keep pouring money into the marketing and organized play stuff for Epic, or see if it could swim on its own, and I'd put my money into making Ascension. And so I decided to go with doing Ascension and seeing if Epic, the trading card game, could survive on its own. It didn't. It died, but Ascension did great. But I always loved Epic, and we wanted to bring it back, but this time not as a trading card game, but as a full game in a box. So basically, you get everything in one little box. And in the process of doing this, I was like, okay, the original Epic was too complicated, so we're going to simplify it a lot. And I had some pretty bold things that I did. So, for example, the original Epic, you had reactions. So basically, you could do you could stop people from playing cards and do things in response, etc. And they had a pretty advanced timing system. And basically, I got rid of all that and basically simplified the system, but made it so that you would make counterplays in different ways. So yes, when someone plays a card, it definitely happens, but you can defeat that strategy by playing this other card later. So that's so basically taking a different approach to it, but massively simplifying it. And as often happens when you're simplifying things, I didn't simplify it enough because basically you start in this very complex area, you simplify it down, and you're like, oh my God, this is so simple now, because you're looking at the advanced calculus version or whatever, and so basically you don't see that you're still too high on the complexity scale. So the first set of Epic trading card game, which comes in this little box. And this one's insane value. It's 120 unique cards. Every card has different mechanics. Every card has different art, and it's beautiful TCG level art. Plus, it's got like a bunch of tokens cards in it as well. This is great, but it's a pretty high complexity level game. And one of the main issues with it is there's a lot of keywords. And so for a new player to learn, there's a lot of keywords to pick up. So basically, and this is something we've been discussing in the company for a long time, we should make a simpler version of Epic, and that's where Epic Duels came in. And this set is a complete 2-player game, and all the cards in it are good and playable. If you were drafting Epic and you shuffled these cards in with all the other sets, cards here, you would be just as interested in drafting. Oh, this card's going to be powerful and great for my strategy, etc. But there's only 4 keywords that exist between the cards. So it's much easier to teach somebody with this set. We also put in all kinds of play aids, like it's got these big coins that have gold on one side and silver on the other. Track if you've got your gold. There's a little flag here to show which player's turn it is, because there are opportunities for people to make plays on their opponent's turn. Like when they're attacked, you can play stuff. So you can play out a surprise monster and block with it, etc. And for people who haven't played trading card games, the idea that I can play something but it's not my turn is just weird. They lose track of whose turn it is. Things like this help with it. We've got these little cards that are little cheat sheets on all the on all the 4 keywords and the 4 keywords and such, and then of course all the cards and the awesome art,
beautiful art,
so basically it's a super simplified version, and this is the new basically starting point for a player. So from now on, if we're telling people where how do I start,
that's it.
And we'll be demoing with that too.
So we'll be demoing with it when a new player is recommended. Epic. This is where we start them. And the rule book. There's a rule book, and there's also a playthrough guide in there, which takes players through their first game. So the decks come in order. And basically we walk them through an entire game where every single play is scripted, and it's saying what they're doing and why they're doing it, and it walks them through a game. So basically it's designed to take this trading card game level complexity experience and making it as entry level as possible, and giving them a really fun, replayable game experience. And then you can add this as an expansion for $15 and just get a vast quantity of cards. At that point, you'd have almost 200 unique cards, one-ofs that you're playing for drafting and playing sealed or building decks at home. So that's an example of
a lot of value for about $40 worth of stuff, right?
Just insane play. So
Another X-Pro tour.
Fulfilling on Kickstarter now. So this came in the same Kickstarter as the High Alert stuff from Star Realms. It will be in stores in a couple months. Yeah.
That's what Andrew Wolf is asking. Is Epic Duels available now? Very cool. And, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Epic, and my experience with Epic is I gave a box of Epic to my friend who has like young boys, and they're like much younger than my kids. And they love Epic because they get to do the things, right?
Yes.
We tried Magic with them, and they're like, I don't like this because I never get to do anything, and like they never had the right mana. They didn't, you'd counterspell them and all this kind of stuff, and they're like, they didn't like it. But this they loved because they just got to bring out big kick-ass monsters and do stuff. And there was definitely some complexity, but I think they would love this. This sounds like something that would be right up their alley in terms of like, get that, first idea of deck building, of that type of game, of a collectible card game, sorry, and then, the drafting of it and all these types of things. Oh, the question I actually wanted to ask you on the terms of keywords, is it 4 keywords per deck or 4 keywords in total for
4
both
keywords
decks?
in total for both decks. And but they give you got plenty of range there. Right. And also, there's things that aren't keyword. It just says on words what the card does. But basically, we cut down the keywords to make it just more accessible. And then when they're ready, they can add any other set to it, and then and handle those additional mechanics as they come.
There you go. Andrew Wolf said that he's looking forward to checking it out. Awesome. There you go. Let's go on to what is currently on Kickstarter right now. Let's hold on one second. Let's get a better picture of all of this. I don't like any of these.
Robot
there we go. Arena. You don't have to see my face. You can see it. So Robot Quest Arena. How did this come to be? We're going to go over the hour, by the way, I think, because you guys got a lot to talk about.
Long-winded Rob. Yes.
That's okay. I like wrong one.
So basically, this game basically at shows we are always like we're basically people are always pitching games and concepts to us. And Debbie will basically have like a meeting schedule for me where you're going to check out this game, you're going to check out this game at this time. And this game was a friend of ours had a friend who had a game and wanted and basically so through this sort of friends connection, there was some time carved out my schedule to play this game. And Paul, who is working at Perfect Day, which they were a digital startup, and they were working on a robot fighting game in this really cute world, which kind of has like a Pokemon-ish feel to it, where basically kids build robots which are their friends, and they go on adventures together with them from city to city, and they go to the local arenas, and they have their robots fight other kids' robots and battle. And so it's a very fun and cute world, and it was really richly filled out. So basically, the guy who has sort of had the concept for the world had been working on it sort of as a passion project. Just the world, not a game, but the world for years, and had all these sketches and artwork and such that was going on in the world. And then they decided they're going to make a digital game out of this world. And they formed a startup company, and they had time, but a bunch of their programmers weren't there yet. So they were mocking up things on paper that they were going to implement in the digital game. And then they started veering off on the paper version into stuff that wasn't practical for the digital game. But Paul was a big fan of deck building games like Ascension and Star Realms and such, and had been a longtime Magic player and such. So he was interested in going in that direction. So basically, as a side thing, they ended up creating this this deck building board game. And he showed it to me at, I think it was PAX Unplugged.
Yeah.
And there were some snags because, oh, it's designed for 4 players, but we didn't have 4 people. And I was like, that's fine. I can play 2 people's worth of stuff, and you play 2 people's worth of stuff. We'll pretend it's 4 of us, and I'll get a feel for it. And there was definitely some things that were rough around the edges, but the game was really fun. And importantly, there was so much passion behind the IP, the world, and basically they were really interested in getting a board game made in their IP, because they kind of liked what they had, and their IP was, and they had this great world which they wanted to sort of get out there and get more awareness of. And I thought the concepts for the game were really fun, and that we could take it and make it great. So basically we teamed up, formed a partnership, and then the Wise Wizard Games team took on the game and basically did game development. And I changed a whole bunch of stuff, as I often do. And Paul was really great about it. Often when, as a designer, you give your baby to somebody, and when they change stuff, it feels like, they're cutting out little pieces of your heart. But he was really cool with it. And I basically came, I was like, oh, I want to change this mechanic and that mechanic, and I'd bounce things off of him. He was like, oh, that sounds great. And he'd play it. He'd come back, yes, that's awesome. And so I see we got a question about Quest Arena. Is it a good 2-player game only? So it's great at 4 players. It is solid at 3 players. And it is also great at 2 players. It was not initially great at 2 players. It was basically okay at 2 players, good at 3, and awesome at 4 was sort of where it was initially. And the thing we did to bring the 2-player gameplay up again to a high level was we made it so that when you are playing 2 players, you're driving 2 robots. You have 2 robot cards and 2 robot minis. So you've got these awesome robot minis.
They are awesome. They're super cute.
Yeah, super cute, awesome, fully painted robot minis. And so you control 2 robots, but you do it with 1 deck of cards. So you basically are buying cards for your deck and playing cards, and you can use your energy to move either of your 2 spots or both. You pick, basically I'll spend 2 energy to move this guy 2 spaces, 1 energy to move this guy 1 space. I'll spend 3 energy to buy this 3-cost card. I'll play this attack card, and I'll have this robot use it or that robot use it. So basically, using that method, we were able to keep the full arena experience with 2 players. So it works great as a 2-player game. It works great as a 4-player game. It is really good at 3, although I prefer 2 or 4 just because I like to have as many bots as possible in the arena. But 3 is still good. So that's how we sort of met up, and and the development process went really well. And the Robot Quest team was so great to work with them because they had this big team from their digital side that were working on the world and the graphics and the art. So so basically I'd come up with, I need an animation for this, and I need this art request, and this, and they would basically they could crank out all that stuff because they already had the world fully flushed out and all the stuff was there. And for anybody, whether you're interested in buying a game right now or not, you should definitely go to the Robot Quest Arena Kickstarter and watch the video.
The video's awesome.
So fun. And we actually hired a musician for it. It has an original song in it, and it is great. They knocked it out of the park with that. It's just really, it's fun and awesome, it is definitely worth a couple minutes of your time to watch through it.
Yeah, to answer.
You should release a.
Yeah, I'm gonna release it. Yeah. I got the soundtrack. I haven't posted but
Yay.
we have an audio file that I'll be posting. Well, I was just going to answer Josh's question. So there are gameplay videos on the Kickstarter page. They're super fun, super awesome. And our family plays games, played 2-player. Clackalope played 4-player.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Shay from the Rado channel played 2-player as well.
By himself.
By himself. Yes.
He was playing left brain versus right brain,
yeah,
COVID
he'd
style.
like show himself from that angle and then flip it for the other side. But they did a really nice job showing the gameplay.
But yeah, and this is this game is really fun. It is very easy to learn. One of the things we did in the development process was simplify cards down so that they mechanically were doing relatively easy to understand things, but you get this great level of complexity because you have so many options because of this board element. So like you have I had this scenario where I was playing a game with Debbie and she was like, tell me what you're thinking here. Cause I was clearly tanking on a move. Like, and it was a scenario where I was like, okay, well I have 4 energy here and I could use it to buy this 4-cost card that when this hydrogen fuel, which will give me 5 energy when I play it, and that can help me buy these really expensive cards later, and that'd be awesome. Or there's these 2 different attack cards that each cost 2, and I could go with a more aggressive strategy with that. Or I could like move my robot, 1-2 spaces over here, and then spend 2 energy to push your robot into these spikes, which would be really fun and do damage to you. And so there's just all these different play options based on both the fact that you're purchasing stuff, but you're using that same energy to maneuver around the table. And there's tiles on the board which do different stuff. Like this tile can heal your robot, and this one is a square where you can spend money to scrap cards out of your deck. And these are the tacks, which do 2 damage to any robot that enters the square, whether you entered voluntarily or not. This one, solar panels, gives you +1 energy on your turn. This one lets you draw and discard. So basically, there's spots on the board which will do good or bad things for you, and you can set those up on the board any way you want. They're tiles, so you can change the board layout each time. And of course, in the Kickstarter, got lots of extra tiles that you can get. So if you get like sort of the full package in the Kickstarter, you're going to have tons and tons of various tiles. You'll be able to play and customize your game board in a bunch of different ways. And I fully expect that people are going to be posting their favorite board layouts, like
configurations and stuff.
So that's super fun. So so very easy to learn because the mechanics are relatively simple. So a lot like Star Realms in that way, where the base rules are pretty simple. The individual cards on their own are all pretty simple and easy to understand, but the real joy comes in and the complexity comes in when you're combining these things together. And here we just have a whole new area to explore with that options, because you have the arena, so you've got space that you're moving around, and that sort of tactical skirmish battle element to it. So basically a whole new level of
a whole new world of Robot Quest.
We just unlocked a new game tile in, it's the next stretch goal. I don't think we've quite unlocked it yet, but we're very close. Called the Gumball Machine, and this is
close.
Yeah, this is a tile where if you go to the Gumball Machine, you get onto the Gumball Machine, you can spend 1 energy once per turn to gain a victory point. So basically, you're buying a gumball, and that's awesome. So you get a victory point for it. But you can also whack the Gumball Machine and make some gumballs fall out of it. So basically, if you can attack the Gumball Machine, and if you attack the Gumball Machine, then 4 gumballs fall out. You basically take the victory point cubes, and you put them diagonally next to the Gumball Machine, and then any robot that goes into a square with one of those victory points is just lying on the table, picks it up. So just fun little cool mechanics that you can do
We are
startup.
$6,000 away from the gumball machine, people.
Oh,
So
that gumball machine is unlocking momentarily. Yeah.
go get that gumball machine. So on Kickstarter right now, Robot Quest Arena from White Wizard Game. Oh, Wise Wizard. Ooh, see? Wise Wizard Games and Perfect Day. Currently sitting at fully funded and $144,000, 409. So it's definitely coming to a mailbox near you soon if you
Yes.
back it. So that'll be awesome. It looks so good. The pre-painted figures are beautiful. Just in terms of manufacturing question, where did you get that done? Which manufacturer are you using for that?
So basically, we're actually so we've had prototypes made from a bunch of different places. So basically, from one Kickstarter video to the other, you might be seeing a different prototype and different methods. And we actually have it quoted from a bunch of different factories and are going to be getting sort of mass production samples as the next part of the process.
Right.
I will tell you, these awesome little painted guys are not cheap. It is a major cost element
of
the game. But for basically, we're going for family friendly. So I love painting miniatures. I was a big Warhammer player, and I love painting. I can geek out about it. Get the magnifying glass and the big lights and paint. But that is definitely wonky and not for everybody. And we wanted people who were super casual. You're gonna play with your brother or your mom who doesn't play games, and we wanted them to have that great visual experience without you needing to have an expert painter in the family.
Right.
So basically, painted miniatures were really important to us, and that we had to restructure some things in the on how we package the expansions, etc. And where the content was, to make sure that there was enough other stuff with each mini to justify the cost necessary to cover the cost of the miniature production. But they're beautiful, and we're super excited about them.
Yeah, me too. So everybody, thanks so much for Deb and Rob for coming on the show. It's been far too long since I've talked to you, and I just talked to you a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
It's still far too long. I love talking to you both. If you want to get a hold of Deb on Twitter, she's at DebDeb, or at Wise Wizard Games. You can reach her, Debbie, at Wise Wizard Games. If you want to join their Discord, go to www.wisewizardgames.com/Discord, and there's a permanent invite link up there. And if you go to that Discord, what can they expect on the Wise Wizard Discord?
So we have channels for each of our games. So in the Star Realms channel, for example, people will be talking about games they're playing. People will talk about things we've announced, like we just announced yesterday. When you're running a Kickstarter, the days just blur together. That we're going to be coming out with command decks in the digital app. So there was a lot of chatter about that. So we have channels for each of the games. And then we also, when we run virtual conventions or run a booth at a virtual convention, we'll do virtual demos in there. And we also, just this last week, did a play testing session. Yeah, you'll find Game Freak and Glitter Fart in there for sure. And I'm trying to think of other things. We do announcements in there as well. So like I posted that, Rob and I are going to be on maple syrup. So that's probably maybe how they found out that we were going to be here and there. And just getting to know people. And then we also run tournaments. Tournaments are really big in the digital app. So, and we run, we're doing beta testing right now for the Hero Realms app, which is awesome. So we have Discord channels for people that are playtesting the Hero Realms app.
We didn't even get into that. Oh my gosh, that is
you can come. You know what? I would actually love you to come back at some point to talk about all the appification and has it been a bane or a boon and all the other stuff. Because I mean, we've talked about it before off show, but it's just a fascinating other side of the industry that I think a lot of people don't know much about, even though they're all engaging with it. Like, what's the cost? Is this a benefit? Does it sell more things or stop sales? All those questions are really important questions for people to know as we move into, more and more people having these little pocket computers, right? So there you go.
Fodder for another episode.
Yeah, totally. Oh, and by the way, though, if you do want to become fodder for Rob you can go fight him on Twitch stream, twitch.tv/wisewizardgame. Is it games or game?
It's game, because that was the one thing that wasn't. There's some individual that has Wise Wizard Games and never streams.
Never streams.
It's game, but most people find it from the link. And
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Wise Wizard Game, and Rob or Darwin, the two designers of Star Realms, stream. They alternate each Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Wednesday at 7 p.m.
So
you can come battle.
Rob didn't stream tonight, but so
yeah.
I don't know if you'll be on
So next week, maybe you can take Rob on.
Yeah.
And then after that, you come watch the Maple Syrup Show. You can find us on Twitter at Maple Syrup. Personally, you can reach me at Sen Fong Lim. I do a lot of talking about design and anime. And apparently today, discourse on Twitter was all about earwax and body sweat.
There you go.
Just so you know, I have a defective allele, and about a good percentage of Chinese people or Asian people really have that defective gene as well, or not defective, just a mutation in that gene. Erica was not here tonight because it's her mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Erica's mom! But you can reach her at Erica Buyuris on Twitter, and Jesse is still far, far up north, so they'll be back in probably January next year. But if you want to talk to them, you can reach them at ttvoid on Twitter. They won't answer because they don't check. But if you do tweet at them, I will tell them that you are tweeting at them. If you're looking for a way to support games and people making content, consider looking at Patreon at the Maple Syrup channel, where we use all the money to keep the lights on here. And when there are conventions, we live stream from the conventions, specifically for people who are showing prototypes at those conventions. So designers pitching, prototype play testing, indie designers, that kind of thing. That's who we live stream for, specifically to boost their presence in the industry. Can I ask, Rob and Deb, do you have a piece of final advice before we sign off?
Final advice.
Yeah.
So
always buy cutters. Always buy cutters.
Always. Well, yeah. So in Star Realms, always buy cutters. Just for any aspiring game designers out there, basically, just keep hammering away at your design. You'll know when it's time to take it and show it to somebody, or try and make it yourself, when you're no longer asking your playtesters to please try your game, but when they're begging you to take a copy, take the playtest copy home. That's when you're ready for the next step. Yeah.
And Deb, what about for marketing?
For marketing, I think for marketing, it's really important to know, as a game designer specifically, to know who you are as a person and to think about your personal brand. So when I think about, I recently did a talk on it, but like when we started the company at first, I focused on Rob and Darwin, they're Magic the Gathering Hall of Famers, and Rob had co-designed Ascension. So like reaching out and using that as our credentials was really important. And then we came out with our product and we focused on, okay, what makes Star Realms different than any other game? And when we came out with Star Realms, it was a lot easier than it is nowadays, because there's just so many games. So saying what's unique about your game is really important, but also pretty difficult. And then how you're going to grow your brand, what's your company going to be like, what's your product line going to be like, is really important. Obviously, social media is really important. So if you personally can be more active in social media, that's a good way to start growing your audience. People can contact me if they have questions about marketing. Like, I'm always giving people advice or answering questions. If they, have a quick question, I'm happy to help you. If you want me to run ads or something, no, I don't have time for that. But I can
advice.
I can answer quick questions.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much, Rob. Thanks so much, Debbie. It was great to see you again. Yeah, and next week we have Tanya Pabuda. Tanya is a PhD candidate at York University in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. She was the one who did the study on like game covers and how many of them aren't, women and aren't people of color and all that kind of stuff. So next week she's going to come straight off of her dissertation and she's going to tell us all about her research, and we are going to just sit here in awe of what is going on and how we can maybe make a change in terms of what is there now that we know the data. What's the movement? How do we move that needle in any direction? Should we? Can we? What's the risk? What's the gain? What's the benefit? So we're going to talk about that next week here on the Meeple Syrup Show. We will. Charles is laughing at the dry wax discourse. We will see you all next week. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all later.
Yes.